right, I want to center our conversation today on the acknowledgement that the war on drugs is a war on women, and particularly women of color. In the United States, 2/3 of incarcerated women are convicted of a nonviolent drug offense. Since 1980, the rate of incarceration for women has increased at twice the rate for men. Or another way of saying that is that the female prison population in this country has increased by 700% in the last 40 years. 65% of incarcerated women are mothers of young children. 1 in 9 black children has an incarcerated parent, as opposed to 1 in 57 white children. Latinas and black women are incarcerated for drug offenses at twice the rate of white women, and indigenous women are incarcerated at 6 times the rate of white women. Native Americans are also the race that is most likely to be killed by police, more likely than any other. In the United States, 42 women die every day of drug overdose, and this rate has increased by 5 times since 1999. The overdose rate for women has increased at twice that for men. Globally, women who inject drugs are 50% more likely to be infected with HIV or hepatitis C than men. From 2005 to 2015, the disease burden on women who inject drugs has increased by 25% as opposed to a 19% increase in men. Women are at risk of having other people, mostly men, control their drug use. Black markets make women more vulnerable to sexual violence, trading sex for drugs, relying on abusers to provide drugs and injections, and being beaten, robbed, and raped. Treatment for women is often not gender specific and is nearly impossible to access for women with pregnancy or childcare responsibilities, as there are few inpatient programs that will allow children to stay with their mother. Women face increased vulnerability to sexual predators in treatment and 12-step programs. In fact, there's even a name for it. It's called the 13th step. Research on substance use has been getting better and more inclusive in recent years, but for the most part, it's conducted entirely on male populations. The solution is radically changing the way we respond to substance use disorders, because all of the above problems that I just mentioned are not necessarily related to drugs, if you'll notice. They're related to the way our society responds to drug use, and they're related to the patriarchy. A common misconception about harm reduction is that it encourages people to use drugs. Rather, it's the idea that while risk or harm cannot be completely eliminated, it should be minimized as much as possible. The most important part of harm reduction is demonstrating with our actions that we truly care about, respect, and love people who use drugs. We don't want to add to their stigma out of some misguided desire to punish them. People who use drugs in a chaotic way and are having a hard time, they don't need any extra punishment. They're good on that. In NPA's perinatal substance use position statement, we advocate for continuing to work with clients even if they are unwilling to remain or to become abstinent, or if they experience relapse, which is an expected part of any substance use disorder or recovery. When a person finds complete abstinence undesirable or unattainable, it is our duty to work with them by creating a plan with them, working on priorities as defined by them and not us. That means that maybe they want to find housing or get glasses or get some dental care before they start to work on their drug use, if they ever do want to work on their drug use. If you're not familiar with it, sometimes harm reduction can seem a little bit counterintuitive, but it's really not. We all do harm reduction every day in our normal lives. Harm reduction is wearing seatbelts so that driving in cars is less dangerous. Harm reduction is eating healthy. Some practical examples of harm reduction for people that use drugs is teaching people how to smoke heroin rather than inject it, because smoking is a lot safer than injecting. Harm reduction is teaching women to inject themselves rather than being injected by others, because that way they can gain more power in their relationships and avoid being forced to share needles or trade sex for drugs. Contrary to a lot of misinformation campaigns, safer consumption rooms are harm reduction. They have been shown to reduce public injecting, reduce paraphernalia litter, and reduce overdose death, all while increasing access to drug treatment and other services. These are just a few practical examples of harm reduction. But if there's only one thing you remember about what I say this morning, it should be love. None of this makes any difference unless people who use drugs feel loved. People who believe that they are worth saving are better equipped to make positive changes in their lives. People who have therapeutic rather than adversarial relationships with their care providers are more likely to access services that they need. People who know that there's someone out there that believes in them might even believe in themselves. That is what harm reduction is.